I wear several hats. And I start from the premise that I'm a Nigerian feminist.
Encouraged him to talk to you.
The first thing you learn in feminism is that sexuality is fluid.
Sally Chibuzie here. Join us for a groundbreaking two-part podcast series featuring Iheoma Obibi, a trailblazing feminist writer and entrepreneur who established Nigeria's first online intimacy shop. In this series, we tackle the societal stigmas that label discussions about sexuality as off-limits and explore how being married provided Iheoma with a unique platform to educate women on sexual health, intimacy, and STD prevention. She also shares her strategic choice of referring to her products as adult toys to navigate cultural sensitivities. The conversation culminates with empowering advice for women to boldly align with their truths. This content is too compelling to be confined to a single episode, so we're releasing it over 2 weeks. Tune in and be part of the conversation that's reshaping perspectives.
Hello, Sally Chibuzie here, owner and founder of the brand Unshakable. You know the motto, unshakable is a state of mind. Take your state of mind with you everywhere you go. Be unshakable, be in truth with yourself, love yourself. Welcome to another episode of Chronicles of Unshakable Truths. I have something very exciting for you today. I've gone out of my usual scenery and I'm in Enfield.
Yes.
I'm visiting Iheoma today. This podcast promises to be very, very interesting. So as you guys know, well, I've said loads and loads of times, I love to go out and meet new people. I met Iheoma at a mutual friend's house. Ngozi, we've met twice now.
Yes, we have.
And we've met under circumstances where we've had loads of ladies gathered around the table for dinner or, you know, what have you, a lot of dancing and drinking and merrymaking. But a lot of different women with different ideas and different insights. So we've ended up being in situations where we've not wanted to go home because conversations have been gripping, to say the least.
Yeah.
So today, I've come to see Iheoma because I have identified her as an unshakable woman.
I know, shocking.
All the synonyms you ascribe to being unshakable: strength, resilience, walking in your own truth, embodies a lot of that. But one of my favorite traits of an unshakable woman is a little bit of quirkiness. So I like a little bit of standouts, the kind of upside down pencil behavior.
Non-conformity.
Non-conformity. So this is the exact reason why I'm here. So we're here to talk about something that will entertain and might surprise people. We'll do introductions anyway from her point of view. Okay. And then I'll then ask her the question, which is, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for a living? And then that's where it gets interesting. So thank you for having me.
Yes. So you're welcome to my home.
Thank you.
Introduction. My name is Iheoma Obibi. I'm going to be 60 this summer, so I'm very excited.
You look really good for 60.
Yeah, I'm going to be 60. I'm going through the menopause. So I'm at that age where the body is doing what it wants to do, behaving in the manner in which it wants to behave, and I'm fighting the battle. So yes.
You're winning, are you?
Yeah, I'm winning, definitely winning. So what do I do for a living?
I love this part.
I wear several hats. And I start from the premise that I'm a feminist. I'm a Nigerian feminist. I shoot from the waist and I ask questions later. And understanding the theory of feminism has allowed me to live as a Nigerian woman. And I say this because it's so important. For my first degree, I did African Women in Development Studies at Northeast London Polytechnic. It's now called University of East London. I did a master's at Communications Policy Studies at City University with a distinction. And then I went on to start doing my PhD at Warwick Center for Gender Studies. I did 2 years, but I never finished it because I got pregnant, had a baby, got married, and I was working full time, and it was so overwhelming. And so that is my background.
Yeah.
That is, that's the
I didn't even know some of this, so yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
nice to
that's
hear.
the background. So that's the shell. Yeah. I work in international development. I work as the executive director for a Nigerian non-profit, a feminist non-profit based in Owerri, southeast Nigeria. Owerri is in Imo State. It's called Alliances for Africa. We have an active social media handle, active website. And then at the same time that happens, I actually will work remotely for the time being. And within that context, I also run two businesses. One is an adult toy business. I sell adult toys on the website. And the other is as a consultant in international development. I am what they call a gender specialist. I'm one of those women that comes into a business and says, okay, sexual exploitation, abuse, harassment, investigation. He touched my breast, he didn't touch my breast. What do we do about it? Are there policies in place to protect employees in an organization? And if there are no policies in place, what do we do to have those policies in place? Do we need to have an investigation to investigate if a code of conduct has been breached? I wear several hats. I'm quite, how should we say, flexible. Because as a Nigerian, you see so many things that our women are going through, and you can't make any assumptions about what they're experiencing, because the socialization process for Nigerian women and wider African women is for them to conform to standards of behavior or cultural norms. And when you don't conform, you are labeled as promiscuous, you're labeled as difficult, you're labeled as everything but a child of God.
Yes.
So I hope that
So-
in a nutshell.
Yes, I love it. It's a brilliant introduction to all the questions that I actually have for you. So I think I'm particularly interested in the adults' toys. So yeah, we call them sex toys, don't we? Is that what-
Yes.
yeah. So,
Adult toys, sex toys, they're the same. I just think that sometimes when you say sex toys, people are thinking the worst. When you say adult toys, it allows room for negligee, it allows
Okay.
room for masseuse, it allows room for other things. But when you say sex toys, because of the way we visualize sex,
Yes.
people think it's just sex.
in Nigeria mostly, or do you think it's everywhere actually?
I think it's in Nigeria mostly.
Yeah.
When I first started selling toys, December 2010, I did not put on my website anal sex toys because my assumption was that, well, in Nigeria, we don't engage in anal sex. So my website had been up for about 3 weeks, and I had all sorts because I had imported from America. So I had everything: penetrative, clitoral, massage, oils, buttercreams, the full shebang. And then but I was getting a lot of phone calls I'm not seeing what I want, but they're not saying it. My head is spinning. I'm not saying, so I will go through oh, but we have this, and they're not saying anything, but they're not saying anything. They rang me the first time, rang me the second time, the third person that rang me, I said, I don't understand what you mean by
Can you
I'm not
just
saying what
spit it
you want.
out?
Just tell me what it is, and if I can get it, fine. There was silence on the phone. Absolute silence. And then they said, I'm looking for some anal cream. I said, okay. I said, what brand do you like? And is it a favorite brand? And that because I haven't got it on my website, I can order it for you. But I would not want to order one. I would want to order a brand, because I'm a
that will
businesswoman,
sell,
that will
yeah.
sell.
Of course, yes.
So this person on the other end educated me
Oh, okay.
because I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was a man. And he said to me, okay, you need to get this. You need to get vibrating anal plug. You need to get anal douche. He gave me a list of things to get. Now remember, he had been calling, but he had never said anything. But this time, when he realized that I was just as ignorant, he then took his time to educate me on what I needed to have on my website.
Do you think also the way you received him encouraged him to talk to you?
First thing you learn in feminism is that sexuality is fluid.
Yeah, I love that. Sexuality is fluid.
It's fluid. And that's why whilst it may not be something for you or I, there you can't do anything about it. You just have to recognize it and accept it for what it is. So he then educated me on the things I needed to get. So I remember, it's funny because he then said to me, you can save my phone number and come back to me if you have a problem. And I did. During the week,
Love
I
it.
got back to him to say, okay, listen, that brand you recommended, I don't see it, but I see this. Is that as good? He said yes. Now,
So he
because
became
it was
your consultant. Your...
by the time I spent time talking with him and just learning and then making an effort myself to learn online, it made it so much easier so within 2 weeks I had placed my order coming from the States. Then I got the web designer to go back into my website and have a section on anal toys.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went, and it was my biggest seller.
Amazing.
Anal toys have always been my biggest seller on my website.
Isn't that very interesting to note?
Yeah, but it was most of my customers were women buying it because their husbands wanted to have anal sex with them.
Interesting.
So it wasn't about men buying it no, most of my customers were women. And a lot of these women were upset that was not what they bargained for. So part of also the problem was that the men had not been honest that vaginal penetration was not what they needed or wanted. That they would actually like penetration from the back door. The women, cloaked in the piety of religion and cloaked in the I am such a good wife, oh Jesus, that whole shebang, couldn't recognize the signals in some of their relationships.
When you say that, can you just say what it is that we're leading up to saying?
They couldn't recognize that the partner that they want to get married to may actually prefer men.
So, and this is more prominent now in Nigeria.
It's always been no. It has always been there.
So, is it that people are just talking about it a bit more now?
It has. Listen, I sell sex toys. I knew relationships where the guy is gay, but he's getting married because he needs to cover his face and he doesn't want to embarrass his parents, and so he marries a young woman, gives her 2 kids,
and wants to do his own thing.
So
they eventually find out. Do the husbands in the cases that you know about? And I'm not sure how you know them, but do they confess to the wives eventually, or they just get
sometimes
caught,
the women catch them, and when they catch them, they go on social media and announce it. Sometimes,
is that the best way to handle it, though?
No, my husband has a very good friend whose wife was actually a lesbian.
Okay.
And there was nothing wrong in that, absolutely nothing wrong, but she had not been honest.
Yes, I think that's the problem, right?
Do you understand? So, and when the husband eventually found out, he hit the roof. He's like, no, that's not, I'm not interested. I'm not prepared to share you. And if you're not prepared to give up that aspect of your life, then that's it. So the problem we face as Nigerian women is we are unwilling to be truthful to ourselves. We spend a lot of time worrying about what my mother-in-law would think, what my mother would think, what my dad would think, blah, 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 blah.
What the church would think.
What the church would think. I stopped going to church, so I don't really care what they think, quite frankly. But I just, because I felt, up until a few years ago, I was a Sunday school teacher in a church in Lekki. And I actually stopped going to church when my daughter was quite young, but she was a tall girl and a bulky girl. And no matter how you dressed her, she had long legs. So the things were always short. She couldn't wear what her peers would wear. And I would drop her off at Sunday school. Then I would go to my class. My class was 0 to 3. And what do we do? Yeah, the babies, we sing.
Yeah.
If if you're happy and you know Jesus, clap your hands. You know, that's what we're doing. Then they give them biscuits. Capri Sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change the diapers of the ones you're changing diapers. Cuddle the ones you're cuddling. Do you understand what I'm saying? My daughter will always come back and say, Mommy, the Sunday school teacher doesn't like me. Or, Mommy, the Sunday school teacher complained about my dress. She complained about her dress the first time, complained about her dress the second time. The third time I went to meet the woman. And I said, what is the problem? She said that her clothes are inappropriate. My daughter was about 7, 8, not more than 8, 6, 7, 8. But she was the tallest. I was upset.
Of course.
I was upset. You know, they would be adjusting her clothes. Don't wear the... That day I told off the woman. I was upset that this woman was transferring her behavior and social norms to my child that at 6, 7, she doesn't know what she's talking about. The one that pissed me off was when she said, but we have boys in the class. I'm thinking, my child's a minor.
What's that got to do
What's
with
that got to do with anything? She's like, I got upset, and what I did was I bought her, she had a iPad. I downloaded the girls' Bible. Yeah? And I said to her, we're not going to be going to church. See this.
Going to read. I think I had one of those, the girls' Bible.
Yeah,
actually, growing up. I
yeah.
remember.
This is a girl's Bible. You want to talk to Jesus because he listens to you.
Yes.
He listens
Yeah.
to you
Church
and he
is
likes
inside
you.
isn't it?
Yeah,
In your
and
heart.
you talk to him here. Read. And that was it. I just stopped going because I didn't. My concern was I didn't want them to influence her in a way that she lost her voice or frightened her and she lost her voice. Because that is what they use religion for. I didn't want that. And as a feminist, I had to really think about myself and say, is this what you want for this child? I thought to myself, nah, this is not going to work for me. And that was it. It's funny because they sent someone to visit me at home. Why? Because I took myself off the Sunday school rota. Do you understand? So they were like, what
Why did you
happened?
do that?
Why did you
Yeah.
do that? And I told them she annoyed me and it's not the first time and she should keep her notions about good girl, bad girl to herself. And I was glad I did because it just allowed her, my daughter, to think for herself about conforming or non-conforming. No pressure to be a good girl, bad girl. Just think.
Were you shy of the sex toys website and the business? With
No,
your
my
kids,
husband
or-
gave me the money.
But with the kids, was there any time you were like, how do I then?
No. See, I just know that I had a word with them that this is what I'm going to be selling.
Okay.
My son said to me, why? I said, because from international development perspective, I get a lot of requests from women. Auntie, since you're not shy, when you go to America, pick this for me. And they will give me a whole list.
Yeah.
That's how it started. I'll be traveling and they'll say, Auntie, buy me this. And you'll be like, okay.
So this was the inspiration. It was
Yes,
people's requests.
it was
of
people's
you because of your
request.
openness.
Yes,
And
yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
No.
So-
I would travel and people would ask
you
me
for vibrators and
crotchless
things.
panties, those bras that had no whatever.
Or the nipple showing.
Yeah, you know, like.
Yeah.
And at the first time I went into a sex shop, it's funny, you know, as young as my daughter was.
Where was that? In the States or?
No, it's in London. I think it was in London, but I went with my daughter. And she said, Mommy, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And I'm like, okay. Want to wait for me outside. I have always been that auntie that they come to. So, and I'm quite practical. I'm pragmatic with sex. It is a bodily function. It is going to happen. You either accept it or you don't. Now, our children, whether we like it or we don't, are going to engage in sexual activity. As parents and guardians, it is our responsibility to ensure that they are safe and that there's consent. Nobody's forcing them. They're not being sexually harassed. They're not being threatened to engage in sex. They're not being forced to engage in sex. And they can only do that if they know that they can negotiate. They need to have the skill to say, I'm not ready to have sex. I can kiss you, but I don't want it to go
all the way.
yes. But unless they know to say that, and that it is okay to say that. And that's where I think as Nigerian parents we fail. We don't equip them with the skills. Our girls, when they get married, cannot negotiate safely with their partners about whether they want to have sex or not. So you find them having 4 or 5 babies because they're not on any family. They're not on family planning. They're not on family planning. Nobody has spoken to them about it, and they don't have the skill set. So for me, when I started selling sex toys, I wanted both my children, I have a boy and I have a girl, I wanted them to understand what I was doing. I just sat down and we had a discussion. All of us around the dining table.
For Nigerians, that's not very conventional, right? Would you agree?
It's not conventional, but but it's not conventional because we have chosen for it not to be conventional.
I know. It's a beautiful thing. And this is where I hope that we would get to, you know, as Nigerians, as people, I think even the world at large, like I think would always struggle with the topic of sex and intimacy, you know, and adults, anything adults, you know, especially sex toys, but Nigerians in particular, I'm not sure what it is about us as a people, would we shy away from these kind of conversations. We don't have them with our parents. I know you're having them with your children. Did you have them with your parents, with your mom?
My mom was a divorcee with 6 children.
Yes.
And because she was a divorcee with 6 children, and it was an acrimonious divorce, she did not want anybody to blame her. Children have got pregnant. So, as Ada, I'm the first. I remember when I got into was it college? I think I was 18. My mother called me and said, and bring it into my house. In other words, go and do family planning. Don't get pregnant and come into my house. I was so frightened of getting pregnant that I didn't even engage in sex. However, she made it my responsibility to tell my siblings. So my brother that's 47 now remembers me
trying to have the talk, the birds and the bees talk.
I didn't have the birds and the bees. I brought out a phallus condom. He must have been about 16, 17. He was so upset. My siblings are like me, all of us.
Yes, I know. I've met one.
So we all can have this discussion in a healthy manner. It's not a big deal. But I think it's something my mom must have done. Do you understand? She must have done something right. So in my relationship with my children is the same thing. Having these kinds of discussions are important. I discuss this with my daughter regularly. Are you sexually active? If you are, there are condoms. When my son was at university and I was still living in Nigeria, on my Amazon shopping list were condoms because I would order the condoms and send it to his university campus. And he said to me, Mommy, you know that my room was the room that you can come and get free condoms. You know, even when you think you have a good relationship with your children, they may still be frightened to tell you. And by the time they're telling you, it might be too late.
To get any advice or anything like that.
Parenting is so hard.
It is. Well, so basically, on a more general note with Nigerians, how was the business received initially? I know you had your secret people who used to call you.
What happened? You see, the thing with Nigerians is that once somebody opens the way, they flood the market. So where I spent time, I would go to sex exotic shows in San Francisco and in the States. As you know, every year there's just as you would have a car show, you would have a sex toy show, exotic dancers, everything.
No, I didn't know that, but now I do.
But I will go to the shows.
Do we have those in London?
They have one. It's called Exotica or something. Anyway, yeah, they do. I would go to the shows because I'm looking for new products that will suit my market.
What was your market?
My market were affluent Nigerians who had resources to spend on things that would enhance their intimate relationships with their partners. And the business was received well because I was married.
Okay.
If I had not been married,
I see,
it would
yeah.
have been very difficult.
Okay.
They would have called me everything but a child of God.
So there's a caveat for
So
these things.
so
Did they turn a blind eye, or did they encourage your educational approach?
I think maybe it was the educational approach, because at the same time I sold sex toys, I would actually have workshops around, God, different things. I had workshops on sexual health, all sorts of things. You know, how do I know I have thrush?
Okay.
What are the signals for thrush?
Okay.
Do I share my sex toys? Because you had Nigerians who actually thought it was normal to share sex. You know, my friend
God,
listen, my friend has bought a new sex toy, but she gave me the one she was using. No, seriously. And I'd be like, you can't do that. Then I had to educate them that what you put in the vagina is not what you put in the anal passage. So the sex toy for the vagina is a separate sex toy. The sex toy for the anal passage is a separate sex toy. We cannot assume that they know these things in a culture where sexual intimacy is not discussed. And what you also need to remember is that we also don't have a healthy educational sexual intimacy discussion. What do I mean?
Yeah.
Both my children were in a secondary school that I was paying in damn dollars in the middle of Lagos. And yet there was no sex education. And these are children that are in this system. Their friends are in the system. Their spheres of influence are in the system. And there's no discussion around sexual intimacy, no discussion around consent, no discussion about negotiation, no discussion about anything. So as a parent, the onus is on you to ensure that your children are safe from predators. And all of us know that in Nigeria, the enforcement around predatory sexual behavior is not as stringent as it is in other places. I think as Nigerians, it made it very difficult. So whilst they accepted the business, what they really liked and which really helped was the educational bit, because at least once every 2 weeks, the workshops around just managing intimacy. What is it?
Was there an element of it that had to do with improving relationships between two people?
Effective communication.
Effective communication in intimacy.
Yes.
I think, because Nigerian women, a lot of them are trained to just lie there.
Yeah, they lie there like this. Yeah.
Turn off the light, preferably.
Yeah.
But this was I was expecting to have a conversation with you where you'd be telling me about a backlash where people said, "Oh, what is she doing?" Or
No.
Did you get any, or do you think people are just scared of you?
I think when they realize that I'm just as naughty as the next person, they'll be telling me. I had some people who stopped talking to me, yes, but I also felt that like I told one woman, my husband gave me money to start the business. What's your problem?
Yes. So you're not hiding.
I'm not hiding.
You don't even care about their opinions.
I didn't care about the opinions. To change my policy on the website is no returns. They would use it.
Bring it back.
I want to return. I'm like, no, that we don't do returns on those kinds of items. It's a hygiene issue.
In spite of the fact that they accepted you, you said that they accepted you probably because of your marital status.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, but I'm not sure. I'll be very honest. I think maybe it was a combination of different things.
The educational bit?
Yeah, the educational bit. I'm working in international development. I never really answered my married name. I don't answer my married name. So they were like, yes, they know I'm married, but who am I married to? Do you understand me?
Mystery.
Yeah. So
did you like it that way? Was it intentional?
It wasn't intentional. I just didn't think my marriage had anything to do with it.
Yeah. So have you stopped? You haven't, have you? It's still ongoing.
No. Well, what has happened now is when you were asking me how did it go at one point, what I was going to lead to is the market then became flooded with Chinese sex toys. Yeah. They started going to China and they were bringing in substandard sex toys. The one that the material, the silicone melts in your hand,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
or smells, gives off an odor.
Or battery dies in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, or or causes a allergic irritation to the vaginal area. So there are all kinds of things like that. I decided, and then I was having problem with customs. Customs wanted more, and I thought to myself, no, 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 no. So what I did was I stopped bringing in stuff, started selling what I have, and anything that I didn't have or finished, I didn't replace it on the website.
Okay.
In the last week or so, I have taken my website down. I did that last week.
Yeah, you were saying to me.
Yeah, I took my website down because I couldn't do the drop ship properly from wherever in the world to Nigeria. And it was becoming more expensive to insure, because my insurers were like, well, if the place is porous, your premiums are going to go up. So I just stopped. 2 weeks ago, I took my site down.
Okay. Is it going back up?
I don't
Because
know.
people are going to ask,
They're going to go ask me. No,
out of curiosity.
let me tell you what they can do. If they want toys, they can send an email to me.
Okay.
And if they send an email, so what's happening now is I'm not doing drop shipping, but I'm sending it through friends who are coming in from London,
Okay.
and we always
So you're
know
still
somebody.
selling on a smaller scale.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy. Yeah.
I'm glad.
And you know that there's a thriving a menage a trois community in
Lagos.
Lagos.
I heard about that recently.
Oh, there's it's in fact, they be doing wife swapping, everything. You'd be like, and they're Nigerians, they're not expatriates. They're
No,
Nigerians.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And then there's a thriving BDSM community as well. So I started selling whips and chains and all sorts. It was hilarious.
Do you have any standout stories? Stories that stick out by far in
Oh
your mind?
yes.
So
oh
give
yes.
me an example of
I
your
give an
most
example.
bizarre
It wasn't a bizarre story. It was just an illustration of how fantasy works. So I get a phone call from a mature man, and he says, Madam, I've seen your website. Very nice. But what I'm wanting is not there. So I'm thinking, okay, Olga, good afternoon. Which part of the website? So he takes me to the website dealing with costumes. I want a uniform. So in my mind, I have uniform on the website.
Nurses, yeah.
Yeah.
Police women.
He said no. He said, I want last mile uniform. I said, excuse me? He said, Madam, I won't make you sew make it can't have hole for bottom, crotchless.
Wow, yes.
So, I sat on the phone. I'm thinking I'm going to jail. The way he described it, you could see how he visualized his wife sexually.
Yes.
That he wasn't worried about the number of children she had and that she's bigger than that was. He just loved her body. And he wanted to see her in that uniform, because by the time I thought about, this is how they're sewing it, they will catch the tailor. The tailor will come and name me. I'll be surprised.
Let's pick you up.
And then pick me. I said to myself, God. Look, I can laugh about it now.
Oh, yeah.
I can genuinely laugh about it now. But at the time, I was terrified. That story has always stood out because it talks about sexual memory and how we fantasize.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And we make assumptions that as Africans, we want a policeman and all these other things. But sometimes our fantasies is our local environment. But what I appreciated, and that's why I've come to the conclusion that a skinny woman is not doing it for some of these African men. They don't like you skinny. They want to see a bit of meat on your body.
Of course,
the way this man described his wife.
With a lot of lust.
Yes, with a lot of lust. And in my mind, I was thinking, this thing of, you've had all these kids and you don't like your body. Honestly, Husbands are not thinking that.
Yes.
And you see,
And it's us women who are thinking that's not appealing or
yeah,
attractive.
he was having this conversation with somebody he didn't know over
he
the
got so
phone,
excited
and he got
about
so
it.
excited about it. I was thinking to myself, okay, and I'm thinking in my head, should I be having this conversation with this man? But recognizing that he's having this conversation with me because he felt he could have this
Yes,
conversation with me.
because by virtue of what you do.
Yeah.
So do you think there is a gap and an opening for more education about these things, about
I think there
intimacy, about
is.
what people actually want,
Yeah.
about not being afraid to step outside
I'll
of the
tell you
norm?
another story.